Welcome to the Bomb Shelter. I'm your host this episode, J. Murder and Mayhem McDowell. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Kevin Slaughterhouse Schumm.
Whoa.
We spent more time thinking of that than we actually did researching anything on this podcast.
Usually
ever.
it's like spur of the moment, just come up with a nickname, but yeah.
I actually froze up on this one. Hey, this is a very, very special podcast or episode of the podcast. In that, first and foremost, it is our 1 year anniversary.
Yep.
Hey, happy anniversary for us. We started this and released our first episode on Halloween, 2017. And we've got 15 or 16 because we did a few extra shows, but here we are.
Yep.
Who'd have thought? So this episode, since we already did a movie, we did Dark Knight Scarecrow last time. Yep. Oh, and we also have our third host.
Agatha the cat.
Yeah, Agatha the cat.
She's going to walk back and forth till she gets bored with us.
Hopefully no horking up hairballs this time. At any rate, we already did a movie. So what we're going to do this time is list, going back and forth, the movies that we think were the scariest growing up, and in some cases, like Kevin's,
like me,
more recent vintage. And we hope you'll at least enjoy it.
Yes.
So what we're going to do, we've both got a list of 5 movies, and we're going to go back and forth. But to figure out who goes first, we have an official 1972 silver dollar with President Dwight D. Eisenhower on the front and the eagle landing on the moon on the back.
Yep.
We're going to flip this coin to decide who goes first. So, Slaughterhouse, you call it. Right? This is going to scare the crap out of the cat, but you know. Oh, Agatha
She's
wants
walking
in on
by.
this action.
All right, here we go.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Call it.
Tails.
Tails it is.
All right.
You're up.
So I go first. So I wanted to explain that, like Jay said, these are movies that scared us either as kids or, in my case, one of them as an adult. These are not necessarily what I consider the best scary movies ever made, but some of them are really good.
Nor are they the worst. I mean, we kind of do usually bad movies, but these aren't necessarily bad movies.
Yeah, these are not bad movies. In fact, my entire list, I have this giant list of scary movies I like, horror movies I like.
Lot of movies.
Some of them actually scared me. Some of them I just think are really good scary movies. Yeah. But I picked some this time that actually did scare me at some point in my life. So what I'd like to start off with is actually not a movie. It's an episode of The $6 Million Man from 1976. And, of course, it is the Bigfoot episodes, it was a 2-part thing. And Bigfoot was on it more than just this one time, but it's the original Bigfoot 2 episodes that really scared me.
And if you want to know more about it, you can go back to Kevin's birthday extravaganza back in April, where we reviewed these.
We actually reviewed these episodes, So I think for each one of these, I'll probably approach it differently. For this one, I'm just going to say, I watched this as a very young kid. I don't remember exactly when I saw it. I don't know if I saw it the day, the night it was released, or if I saw it as a rerun later.
Yeah.
I was really young. But one of the times I watched one of the episodes, my sister and I were being babysat by my cousin, who's much older than me. Her name is Susie. And we watched it, and Susie could tell that I was really, really scared. Bigfoot in this. And again, I'm not going to get into the details of every single one of these.
Go back and listen to the other show.
Yeah, listen to the show. But Bigfoot in this, he has his eyes are basically close to just white. There's no pupil necessarily in the middle. So what my cousin Susie did is, after the episode was over and she knew I was scared, is she held her thumbs on her top eyelids and rolled her eyes down like I'm doing right now.
It's a little creepy.
To where her eyes were all white, and she basically chased me around the house it seemed like hours and hours and hours. It was probably 2 minutes.
And you're traumatized to this day.
Yeah, I still think about it sometimes.
So every time you see your cousin, does she greet you with her eyes like that? And
no,
chase you around the house?
I bet she doesn't even remember.
She could probably do it and still scare you.
Probably. But yeah, so that was my scary memory of it. But in general, this episode scared me more than just. That's my main memory. Another memory, I had a friend. We both loved The $6 Million Man, but both hated Bionic Bigfoot. My mom lived. Still lives, but especially back when I was a kid, lived right near the entrance to some hills that didn't have any houses on them now, or
at the time
they didn't. but we used to walk down there. There were trees and everything, and it was basically any forest type looking place became maybe the Bionic Bigfoots around here. So yes. I just remember me and him walking down there, and our dads were on the walk with us, and they kept like jokingly, but would jump out. It was we knew it was happening. We knew it was a game, but in reality, it actually did not
make you feel any better.
Yeah, so that was my other memory from. But just probably more than anything else in my life, if I had to pick one scary thing, it is the Bionic Bigfoot.
And that came out when Bigfoot mania was like huge in the 70s, and I remember being terrified too of anything. But I was
Bigfoot in general was just scary.
Yeah, but I was so obsessed with it that I wanted to see anything in search of, or and that and aliens too, but aliens still freak me out.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to watch anything about it, but at the same time I was terrified, and I remember having a nightmare when I was probably about 6 or 7.
Yeah,
that I was in our backyard, and the house that we lived in had a redwood fence. It's probably about a 6 foot tall fence, and I was sitting back in the backyard playing, and I looked at the fence at the top of the fence line, and I could see Bigfoot, the top of Bigfoot's head, and apparently he was a short Bigfoot.
Yeah,
a 6 foot fence. And I remember in the dream, all I could do, I was paralyzed, and all I could do was go,
yeah,
and that was it. And he was coming around, and I woke up before he ate me. Thank goodness.
I bet in real life you were probably making that noise in your sleep. It would be my guess.
Probably.
Yeah,
probably. And it kind of funny. That's your first movie. Tonight before we started recording, we went out to go. We went out to go. I am an amateur photographer, but the area that Kevin lives in right now has a lot of nice places to see. And so we went and we drove around to a couple places, and we got out of the car, and I was going to look to get a shot, and Kevin goes, "I'm going to wait over here because I don't want." I'm afraid of snakes and Bigfoot. And I started thinking, I was like, yeah, I'm more afraid of Bigfoot too.
Yeah, I know. I know snakes are real and that Bigfoot may or may not be real, but I'd still rather be around a snake than
and I don't like snakes at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
In fact, you were at the street, and I was further down, and I started hearing something big in the brush, and I was like, I hope it's a bear.
Yeah.
I really, really want it to be a bear.
Please be a bear instead of Bionic Bigfoot.
Please. You can eat me, bear, not Bionic Bigfoot.
Scary things in the forest. Bears, then Bigfoot, then Bionic Bigfoot. He's the scariest.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway,
so we're just pretty much
$6 million man, Bionic Bigfoot scared me more than anything. And now
and it works.
I'll pass the non-literal mic over to Jay.
Yeah, because I already have a mic.
Yeah.
Okay, my pick for my number one, my first pick is 1978's The Legacy. And when I saw it, I think it was on regular TV, and it was renamed The Legacy of Maggie Walsh. For some reason, I remember that. It ingrained itself in my head.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a horror movie. People get called to, it's kind of like The House on Haunted Hill, where a bunch of people get called. This guy's dying. He's going to bequeath stuff to him, and then hijinks ensue.
Yeah.
And people slowly start being myrtleized left and right. And things happen. Like, I remember the husband, he goes and he's taking a shower, and all of a sudden, hot water it starts scalding him.
Yeah.
And, he can't get out of the shower quick enough. And dumb stuff like that. And there's a cat that always jumps out.
Yeah.
There was one scene early on, the woman, I'm assuming Maggie Walsh, goes to see the old man who's dying, and he's in one of those beds with the like mosquito netting down the side, and she goes up to him, and this clawed hand just grabs her by the wrist and shoves this ring on her finger, and she can't get it off.
Yeah.
And so then they go through the whole movie. Eventually, they try and escape. They can't, and then they're possessed by the house or the guy or whoever.
Yeah.
But there was one scene in it that scared me, and to this day, I still get kind of freaked. This woman goes swimming in a pool. They have a big, huge pool. Woman goes swimming, and as she's swimming, this clear cover goes over it, like a glass cover. And she's swimming underwater, and then she comes up and bonk, hits it.
Yeah.
And all you see her is, pounding on the glass while she's drowning.
Yeah.
And drowning is one way I do not ever want to die that way. And so that didn't help matters. So yes, The Legacy, 1978.
Okay.
And this was one of the many movies that I watched with my
With
mom.
your mom, yep. We all know that.
Yeah.
Now, I have not seen this movie, but I believe I remember the trailer, and I think the trailer, as a kid, the trailer was probably scary enough to scare me on its own.
Yeah, a lot of these that when we were young, the trailers were enough to make it so I never wanted to see the movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't probably for, another 20 years.
Yeah.
Except this one.
Now, let's say, what if you were in the woods walking towards a pool and Bigfoot started chasing you? Would you jump into the pool knowing that the clear thing might go over it, but you might get away from Bigfoot because he doesn't like pools?
I don't want to drown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, do I have to submerge in the water?
For this, you have to for this because you have to get both fears into one.
Because see, if I could just keep my head above and he doesn't want to go in the water, then I'm like, yeah. And then when the cover comes, then I can just, push myself up and out.
That's true.
Unless it does a, like guillotine kind of
Yeah,
goes
that's
across.
true.
That wouldn't be fun. Oh no, Bionic Bigfoot was kind of slow,
Yeah.
but I can't run a long distance.
Yeah, that's true. Eventually he'd catch up.
One of the two of us would run out of breath
Okay.
first. So I don't know who I would place odds on. I don't know. Can I just jump into a pit of rattlesnakes?
Yeah, that
Okay.
works.
Okay, thank you. I will take option C, rattlesnake pit.
Okay.
All right, you're up.
So yeah, I have nothing to add for that one because I haven't seen the movie, so I don't want to try. So my next one would be actually from the very same year as the $6 Million Man Bigfoot episode, but this one is a movie, pretty famous. It's The Omen, which is we haven't reviewed this, so I'll basically tell you what it's about. It's basically about, like in Christian theology, there's this idea that a sort of antichrist will come, kind of like basically the devil as a child.
Yeah, in end times.
In the end times, at the end of the world, he'll kind of take over the world and make it stuff bad, basically.
Yeah, and then Armageddon happens and all that fun stuff.
So this movie is basically about the beginning of that, where basically a woman has a baby who is basically the son of the devil, Damien. And it's just basically the first, maybe 5-6 years of his life, something like that. And this scared me because I still do. I go to church. I grew up in the church. And so, especially back then, there was a lot of, at least at my church, there was a lot of well, you gotta be good because, you never know when the end of time is coming and all this. So you'd hear a lot about the Antichrist and Armageddon and stuff. And so this movie was like a horror version of that. So taking something that's already scary to me, that's a more of a real life type of thing, and then turning it into here's a really scary version of that.
Yeah, and I've not seen it because I too grew up in the church and still a believer. Whether or not you believe we're in the end times or not, what Kevin said was true. In the 70s and 80s, every time it was, the end's coming, it's coming. And we got people that do that now.
Oh, yeah.
And you just kind of blow them off because you're like, whatever. But yeah, I remember not wanting to see this because I was like, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
I went to a private school, and in 6th grade, they, in their infinite wisdom, showed us not the Left Behind,
Thief in the Night.
the Thief in the Night and Distant Thunder.
Yeah.
It scared me senseless.
Yep. They're still scary.
They're still scary, but because they're so horribly made anymore.
Yeah.
But they terrified me, and I did not want to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was afraid to touch my forehead,
Yeah.
scratch it, or like if I'd go to like an amusement park or something and they stamp it back your hand.
You're like,
I
do my left hand.
To this day, I still do. I'll give them my left hand. They'll go, "We'd go do your right." I'm like, no, because that'll be the mark.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get where you come from on that one.
Yeah, and for this one, there's no specific like with the Bigfoot thing. I had the one time this happened, the one time that happened. With this, it's more of just a general. It scared me, and it just sort of made something scary even scarier.
It was the
for me.
topic itself.
Yeah, it was the topic itself. And there's some really great scenes. I think it's still a pretty good scary
considered a
movie.
classic,
And it's a really good movie. I mean, I'd watch it again right now. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Damien, I'm doing this for you.
And probably one of the creepiest endings to any movie ever is, which I won't say right now because I don't want. We'll watch it someday. I don't want to ruin it for you.
I want to see it.
But yeah, I think the last 10 seconds of the movie, if you're not already scared, the last 10 seconds is just like the creepiest thing ever.
Of course, I'm just picturing Donald Sutherland at the end of Invasion of the Body
Invasion of Body
Snatchers.
It's at that level.
That's all I'm picturing is him pointing at.
That should have been one of mine. Oh, it's on my list. It just didn't make it to tonight's podcast.
Okay.
Okay, so
Honorable
I will
mention.
pass it back over.
Okay.
To Jay.
So let me cross this off so I don't say the legacy again.
Yeah.
My number 2 movie, and Kevin's not the only one who has a more recent vintage
Yeah.
of scares. It came out in 2002, called The Ring, and it was, as most people know, the American remake of the Japanese movie Ringu. And basically, you watch the video, you get the phone call, and you die 7 days later because the creepy girl comes out of the TV and drowns you, apparently, or scares you to death. But I remember seeing it, and the music on the video creeped me out because it sounded like a backward 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
Which 9 Inch Nails already sounds pretty creepy and cool going the right way.
Yeah.
But then going
Even
the other
worse.
way, it's worse.
Yeah.
And I remember that just getting under my skin. And then one night I was in bed, and you know when you're a little kid and it's dark and you'll see shapes of something, be like a toy, and you know it's a toy, you know it's a jacket or whatever.
But what if it isn't?
Exactly. And I woke up and there was a pile of clothes, and it looked just like that stupid girl.
Yeah.
And I started hearing the sound, the music, and I was just like, okay, undercover's time.
And just in case, I mean, if you listen to our podcast, you could figure it out. But how old were you in 2002?
02.
Math.
Do the mathing. Okay, what were you saying earlier? If I take the number of the year and I make minus it 1. So it was an age ending in a 1.
Okay.
31?
31. Yeah,
21.
That sounds right.
No one would be 21. 31.
Yeah. So 31-year-old Jay.
Under the blankets.
Yep.
Scared.
Well, later on, you're going to hear one even worse.
Yes. I don't feel bad in telling everybody that scared me when you hear Kevin's.
Yep.
But it was a really good movie, really creepy, really effective. And even though the medium that people would watch is kind of dated, you could kind of picture yourself like going up to a cabin.
Yeah.
And all they have is an old VCR and some old tapes, and you pop this in.
Yeah.
And then you're like, uh-oh. And then the phone rings, and you're like, uh-oh. And it worked. It just really worked. And so I still think it's a great movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
And just really, really works. Really gets under your skin. Really gets into your head, especially later at night when you see a pile of clothes in the corner. Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go. The Ring.
I have seen it, but I don't think I have much to add. I don't have a specific memory, but really, really scary movie. And I think a really good movie, too. Something you could watch.
I mean, was it scary to you, though?
Yeah, it was scary.
Okay.
That was sort of the beginning of either that or The Grudge. I don't know when The Grudge came out afterwards.
Yeah, there was a spate of remakes.
Of like Japanese horror movies. And I think probably most likely The Ring was my first Japanese, or like a scary movie of Japanese origin.
Because I think I've got Ringu also, and I only watched part of it because I just didn't finish it.
Yeah.
But I know I watched The Grudge, and then, what was it, Euron?
The original.
The original, yeah, whatever it was called. And it was pretty effective.
I remember that they were different. They had different scenes. Like it was slightly different. Enough to where you could watch the American one, and then you watch the Japanese one, you're like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen.
It was more the style because, they got to westernize it.
Yeah.
And of course, we're still talking about The Grudge here, not The Ring.
Yeah, not The Ring.
But I think with it being Japanese and being foreign to us, it helped.
It adds something.
Because it has you off balance already.
Yeah.
You're like, why are these people, living in these houses and they take their shoes off all the time? What's going on?
Yeah.
So the culture's totally different. So you're not used to that, and then, creepy dead kid shows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think it really.
Yeah.
I think they really worked.
Definitely.
So
here we go. We'll pass it back to me. And my next one is an extremely famous horror movie, maybe possibly one of the most, famous horror movies ever. Halloween,
Yes.
1978. In fact, it's been remade, and there's a brand new version of it again.
I'm hearing good things about it.
And I've
too.
heard good things about it.
Actually, it's not a brand new version of it.
Oh, it's
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 it's the actual sequel to
number 2 or
the
something like that.
second one.
I think so. Yeah. So it's you got Jamie Lee Curtis in it again.
Yeah,
But she's older because it's been years.
yeah, it's 40 years. Yeah, because Rob Zombie did reboot it.
Yeah, he actually did the same story
And
again.
then there's been like 1,000
Yeah.
sequels, which they just totally said, okay, none of those happened.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if they said it's a sequel to 1 or 2, but
Yeah.
2 was basically the next day.
It basically picks up almost immediately after.
Yeah.
The first
So I
one.
could see this one being
Yeah.
a sequel to 2, but I'm hearing really good things about it.
Yeah, me too. I may actually see it, but we'll see. But yeah, Halloween 1978. This may have been. See, I don't think I saw The Omen until years later on VHS, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween may have been the first horror movie I actually saw, like actual horror movie, because like The $6 Million Man isn't a horror movie.
No,
it just
doesn't
scared me.
count.
But yeah, Halloween is definitely the first actual horror movie that I remember seeing, and it just scared me to death. This is the one that for me kind of scared me at night.
Yeah.
I'd be laying in bed and I'd be thinking, okay, Michael Myers is gonna.
You'd be all, I like Star Trek. Oh, I
Yeah.
like William Shatner. I like
Yeah.
Captain Kirk. And then you go, William Shatner.
It's
Oh,
like,
no,
uh-oh.
Michael Myers is going to
He
kill
looks
me.
scary. Yeah. So yeah, this is the one where I'd be laying in bed and I'd be thinking about Michael Myers maybe walking, like opening. We forgot to lock the back door, and he's just come in.
standing
he's,
over you.
He's
You-
walking down
you
the
go,
hallway. Yeah. So I'd be laying in bed, and of course, one of the rules is that if you cover yourself or if you turn away, they can't really find you.
Monster blanket.
So I would turn away so that I'd face the wall. My bed was against a wall, and then the other direction was like the door to my room. So I'd turn away, and then I'd slowly cover myself, because you don't want, if you do it too quickly,
They'll see
he'll
you.
hear you and he'll have time to get you before you actually cover yourself.
Yeah.
So, I remember that. I remember even,
There are rules to
there,
staying alive.
there are definitely rules, and we all know them just by instinct. We don't have to talk about them and
Nope.
and like say like, did that work for you?
In fact, you
We
don't
just
talk
know.
about it. You just
Yeah.
look at each other, you nod,
Yep.
you know.
We know. The other specific memory I have was we were playing like a hide and seek type game at church. We used to have a Wednesday night church thing, and at least by the time the games would start, it was dark outside, so we'd play tag and hide and seek. And back then at the church, there was a parking lot, and then right next to that was, now it's apartments. Back then it was a field, and the people at the time had horses. And I never really thought about the horses, but I knew they were there. But I happened to be hiding over in a bush right between where the parking lot ended and the field began. And I heard, of course, the crunch behind me. And obviously it's a horse, but in my mind it's like, it's Michael Myers.
And you turn around, it's a horse with a William Shatner mask on.
No, it was a horse it was a
With a
probably
knife?
dark brown horse with a white spot on his forehead.
Oh, nice.
So I turn around and I see a white, about the size of a white scary mask around the height of a person behind me. And it was really scary. And you know what? I didn't do very good at hide and seek that night. They found me.
You're like, find me, please.
Yes.
Please find me.
So that was my other memory of Halloween. But yeah, that one scared me for definitely years. You
Yeah.
try not
really
to
had
think
an
about it when
impact.
you're laying in bed. Yeah.
Well, for me, I saw it on, I think I saw it on HBO or something.
Yeah.
And of course, my mom was there.
Yep.
But my little sister and I, we used to antagonize each other all the time.
Yeah.
And she's 4 years younger than me, and we would just pick at each other and all the time. We couldn't be in the same room without causing
Yeah.
problems. This was the only time in our entire lives that we sat on the couch and were quiet because we were too terrified to
scared.
move.
Yeah.
We had our feet up, pulled
Yeah.
up to our chest.
Because anyway, you can't grab your
you
feet.
can't come under the couch and grab our feet.
Yeah.
And we're actually sitting next to, actually touching.
Yeah.
We're that close. We're just sitting next to each other. My mom's like off doing something in the dining room or whatever.
Yeah.
She was there, but she was just far enough away that we were so scared.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I think just to this day, I can come up to my sister or talk to her on the phone now.
Yeah.
And do the the theme.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, do, 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 do,
Yeah.
do, do. And she's like, stop it, that
Yeah.
freaks me.
It is still, I mean, I've watched it. I have it on Blu-ray, and it's still, I mean, again, the older you get, for the most part, some of the scariness goes away. You've seen it, 20 times, and
I don't know. It's still
it's really good,
really
though.
effective. And
Yeah.
I love a lot of it. A lot of the movies we watch, especially the bad ones, the
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff is a lot more fun because it's like, oh, okay, that's how they screwed this up.
Yeah.
The behind the scenes for Halloween has fascinated me because it was filmed in Pasadena.
Yeah.
You can find one of these days when you just go and find
look
the
at the
house, and
houses,
then
yeah.
you know, because I'm sure they love when people do that.
Oh, yeah.
But they had to find pumpkins for
Yeah.
one. Then they had the leaves they used to make it look like fall in
Oh,
Illinois.
yeah. They had to paint them, right? Or something?
No, they found dead leaves.
Oh, okay.
But what they did is they would use it for a scene, and then a grip or a gaff or somebody would have to come and collect all of them so they could take them to the next scene.
next place and lay them down.
All the leaves that you see are like used over and over and over again. And it just, it was just fun. But it's also, people think it's a slasher movie, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's there's little, if any, blood.
Yeah.
And really, you don't see much going on. Like, you know, spoiler alert for a 40-year-old movie. When you see young Michael murder his sister, you hear it. You hear the knife going in, but you don't see blood splattering. Or like if they did it, you know, a movie like that now,
You'd see blood everywhere.
Yeah, you'd see the knife go down, then you'd see blood fly, and then you'd see her covered and everything.
Yeah.
And you don't. You're watching everything because it's one long.
It's a
long
scene.
shot. Yeah, a long shot. It's just perfectly done. Because you're walking in, you're looking through the mask.
Yeah, he puts the mask on. The view
the
kind of
knife.
covers.
Yeah.
Or changes. Yeah.
And you just see that, and then you see him go in, you see him kill his sister,
You hear the screaming, but you don't see much.
and then you see him go down the stairs, and then his
He
parents,
walks-
his parents walk in there like, Michael, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then you see him, they pull the mask on. When
It's
they
just a
do,
little
then
kid.
it turns around, it's a little kid. It's just perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just, and movies after that, I mean, I've never seen the first Friday the 13th because I just never cared to. I saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street. It was a good movie.
Yeah, it's good.
But it seems like everything after that, they focus on the gore and the boobs and not what made it really scary.
Yeah.
And what made Halloween scary was the way it was filmed.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, Michael Myers was just terrifying.
He's so scary.
Shape.
Yeah, the shape. let me share, and I think this is our 5th movie, so we'll probably do a break right after this and then do another 5. But
yeah, we are going a little long on this one.
yeah, but this one, I mean, this one's
have
exciting
to.
for both of us. It's Halloween. So the 2 scenes that really get to me are, there's one scene where a guy comes downstairs into the kitchen to get a drink or something like that. Michael Myers stabs him through to where he's
like
on the wall lifted
butterfly
up.
pins him.
Yeah.
Like
and
a
then,
bug.
And that part doesn't scare me. What scares me is what happens right after, where he
Yes.
just stares at him. And you know how a dog, when they're trying to figure something out, they kind of turn their head back and forth trying to figure out what it is.
He's studying him.
He's studying this dead guy against the wall like he's not sure.
Yeah.
It's like he's an animal or something.
Or he's just kind of like,
And I just got the chills even saying that.
Yeah, I mean, because
it's scary.
creepy.
And then the other scene is, and it happens a few times, but there's one scene where Jamie Lee Curtis, and this is all credit to the director filming this correctly. Of course, one of the many times she thinks she's killed him, and she's like exhausted. She sits down, and then out of focus in the background, he's laying down, without his legs moving, just from the waist up.
Yeah, he doesn't like push himself up with his arms. He just does a sit up.
He just sits up straight, and then his head turns over towards her. She has no idea.
I just
got the chills again.
Yes, because I know that when my sister and I saw it, we probably both just, our mouths fell open and no sound could come out.
I know.
And to this day, yes, that is the perfect scene.
Yep.
Because you're thinking, okay, you're relieved.
Finally.
She's done and everything. And it sits up and you're going, no. And
she has no idea.
Yeah. It is probably one of the best scenes, not just in horror movies, but in any movie.
Any movie, yeah.
Just perfectly done.
Yep.
Bravo, movie.
Yep.
Bravo. You still make us freak out.
Yep. Even just talking about it, I got the chills on both scenes.
I'm seeing it. And where we're at right now we're at the bomb shelter 2.
Yeah.
It's dark out.
Yeah.
It is pitch black dark out. And all I can see is occasionally a car go by, but nothing else. And so Michael Myers could just be sitting
He could
there
be
and doing
all of a
his little
sudden.
sit-up.
Yeah, definitely.
Just perfect. Yeah, okay.
So
Okay, I think we're done.
Yeah, that's it. You can't get any better than that. So yeah, on that note, we'll take our quick break and we'll come back with another 5.
All right.
Halloween, 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 happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Welcome back. I have no idea what's going to go in that break, but I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was awesome what we just did during
It
that
was
break.
great, especially that part where you did that thing.
Yeah, it was really funny and or scary.
And I either laughed or screamed like a little girl.
Yeah, me
One
too.
of the two. It could have happened. We don't know. Okay, so enough shenanigans. My next movie, is the first of, between us, 3 alien-themed movies.
Yeah.
4 if you want to count Bionic Bigfoot, because technically
Technically,
he was
an alien.
So we'll go with that. Apparently, 2002 October was a really good year to scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember if it was right before or right after. I can't remember which one I saw first. I saw The Ring, and then 2 weeks later, I saw Signs.
Yep.
Oh, boy. I remember... Okay, well, quick overview. Signs, alien invasion movie with Mel Gibson.
Yep.
And Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix, yeah.
And I remember I was home alone and watching TV. I was in bed, lights out, and the trailer for it came on. And the scene, they showed the scene where he goes to the pantry door.
Yeah.
And he goes to look down, and I knew what was coming.
Yeah.
I knew what was coming, and I think I did scream.
Yeah.
I may have yelled when the hand came out under the door, and I was like, and I've got to turn the TV off now.
Yeah, yeah.
And change the bedding.
Yeah.
That movie, watching it in conjunction with The Ring or somewhere around it, not a good thing for someone with an overactive imagination.
Yeah.
At the time, the woman that I was seeing, I was at her house.
Yeah.
And we had seen it a few days beforehand. And she had left for a little bit, and I was at the house by myself. And all of a sudden, there was a blackout. And I was certain, without a doubt, that the aliens had turned the power off.
They did.
So the ex-girlfriend comes home to find me sitting in my truck with a flashlight, waiting to drive off if I have to get away from the aliens that were going to surely come and harvest me for whatever they were doing in Signs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, freaked me right out. Just aliens in general still give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Bigfoot, not as much.
Yeah.
Because I think I view it more as a potential animal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like being afraid of a bear.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of weird. But aliens, especially big buggy-eyed aliens, does it to me every time. And this movie, the one scene, the pantry scene is pretty freaky.
Yeah.
But the one scene, and I know it freaks Kevin out too.
Yeah, if you weren't going to mention it, I was going to.
Oh, would you like to?
Either way, I assume you're talking about the TV footage.
The party.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You want to do it or you want me to?
Go for it.
Okay. So in the movie, it's sort of being, there's these
There's news reports.
there's news reports and all this, so more and more information's coming out. These aliens are showing up in more spots around the world.
Yeah, there's a scene where the bird hits the cloaked ship.
Yeah.
And
So there's this, suddenly on the news, Joaquin Phoenix is watching the news, and they have, an alien sighting they're going to show, and I think they even say something about this is disturbing
this
footage.
may be disturbing.
Yeah. So it's in Mexico, I believe.
South America
somewhere. And these kids are having just a regular birthday party, and then all of a sudden, and this is a home. It's like home video that the news has got hold of.
Yes, it's a little bouncy,
Yeah, it's shaky and bouncy, and these kids are having their fun birthday party. Then all of a sudden, you hear some like screams.
Yeah,
because something's happening, and what you find out is that the kids are seeing something weird. So
and they all point.
They all
bushes.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, chills.
Yeah, here it comes.
Actually, you take it from here because you have a better memory for this. I know the actual thing, but you're gonna remember this.
Okay, so the kids all start screaming. The adults start screaming. They point the camera at it's a hedge, like a 6-foot hedge.
Oh, that's right.
And you don't see anything. And I'm not sure what they're saying. It's in Spanish.
Yeah,
I cannot remember.
But it just holds on the hedge, right? Like
it comes out from behind the hedge.
Yeah, but I mean the camera just holds on the hedge.
Yeah, the camera's looking at the hedge.
And you're waiting like, well, what are they seeing?
You're trying to look in the hedge. Well, is it blending in or whatever?
Yeah.
And then it just walks out, and then they stop it, and it looks at the camera.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep.
And just
Yeah, that scene is really creepy.
It's perfectly done because it's what you would see. If this really happened, you would see people would have footage.
That's like the kind of footage that you would. The first time you saw the alien would be something like that.
Yeah, because it's something totally normal. It's a birthday party, no big deal. And then all of a sudden, everybody freaks because they're seeing it, and you're like, "Well, what are you seeing?"
Yeah.
Ah, that's what you're seeing.
Yeah, really creepy.
And and the whole movie itself. I'm one of those who likes to know the backstory.
Yeah.
On movies, excuse me, my root beer is coming back. I like to know the whole backstory. So basically, what was going on is the signs were crop circles.
Yep.
And Mel Gibson's character thinks that it's neighbor boys tearing up his crops, and he's a former pastor, priest who lost his wife and is having a crisis of faith, and he. It turns out the crop circles are actually directional beacons or arrows for the aliens. And spoiler alert again, they're allergic to water.
Yeah.
Which they come to an ocean planet. Why?
Yeah.
Don't know. But you're cut off. It's very effective because you're cut off from everything else. Once they see the alien footage, they see the ship. They hear about things going on, but then they lose all signal, all the TV station, all the radio stations are gone, and you don't know what's going on. So you feel isolated on this farm with them.
Yeah.
And there's one other scene there in UFO alien lore. There's this one story called the Hopkinsville Hopkinsville Goblins. And basically, it was a family out in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky. They claimed that they were having a family get together, and all of a sudden, these 3-foot tall aliens or monsters attacked their home, and they went out and shot at them and stuff like that. A lot of people say it was owls, which I don't know, I've never seen all that big, but they kind of took some of that and used it because there's the parts where you hear them on the roof.
Yeah.
And you hear them running, and then you see them because they can't use doorknobs apparently.
Yeah,
technology is beyond them.
Yeah.
But then you see them, you hear them trying to get in places. You see, and they're like chameleons.
Yeah.
And it's creepy. But then toward the end, they finally start getting radio signal back.
Yeah.
And you hear the Israelis figured out a way to fight them back. They're leaving.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were harvested, blah, blah, blah. So you really don't know what was going on. You just know that they don't like water, and you assume the Israelis got super soakers and start taking them out. Really well done, though.
Yeah.
Just enough to keep you isolated, keep you off kilter. But I want to know more about it. But I know I don't want a sequel because they'll ruin it.
Yeah, they'll ruin it. It's better to not know sometimes.
Yeah.
It's scarier to not know.
Yeah. So, a well done movie.
Definitely. Yeah, I really like that one too. And I mean, everything you said, I agree.
Just good and scary. And any movie that can get into your head like that in The Ring.
Yeah.
And make you freak out in
Yep.
real life. It's good.
All right, my next one is from 1980. It's a movie called The Changeling. Jay has not seen this
Never
movie.
seen this.
But it's a really good haunted house movie. I first heard of it through, there's a Stephen King book where it's not a novel, he talks about.
Danse Macabre.
Yep.
Yeah.
He talks about, things that scared him, movies, books. And so I would read that and I'd basically make a list of like things I wanted to read and watch.
Yeah.
So one of them was The Changeling. And he said it's one of those movies that should have been the scariest movie that year, but for whatever reason, just, I don't know, the release.
What year did it come out?
1980. So there may have been something else that
I think The Shining was out.
probably The Shining probably
Yeah.
took over for it. Yeah, that would make sense. Sort of another haunted type movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so the basic story of it is, I don't want to tell too much because Jay's sitting here and I want to watch it with him. But basically, it's a haunted house movie. The ghost of someone is in this house. This guy moves into a house to get away from a bad situation, and it's one of those scary movies where, one of those haunted scary movies where you're really scared, but in the end, you kind of realize that the ghost just wants something.
Wanted to be friends.
He wants something, and it's scary what's going on. But in the end, if you can just appease what the ghost needs.
So the ghost isn't trying to scare the guy off.
No,
or haunt him.
he's saying, "Help me."
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so it's a scary movie with with an ending where you're like, oh, that's kind of happy in a way. But
kind of happy.
but I've watched it. I mean, I watched it just a few months ago, and it's still really scary to me. And yeah, like I said, I don't want to get too much into the details right now because I don't want to ruin. It is one of those movies where you don't want to know some of the stuff before you watch it. Not only for you, Jay, but just the other 3 people that might ever listen to this. But
which will be both of us again.
there is one scene where there is a little girl that's is having trouble sleeping, and her mom doesn't know why, and she keeps saying because of the little boy, and her mom keeps saying what little boy, and then the way you finally get to see the little girl tossing and turning in bed this one night, and what she sees is so creepy and so scary. The first time I ever saw this movie, I was watching it. I was in either junior high or high school. It's hard to remember, but on VHS, of course. And I had a friend over. We were watching this movie, and when the movie was over, I was home alone except for him. He was going to drive home. He lived just down the street. So, of course, I was going to be like by myself
Totally by
when he
yourself.
left. Yeah, so we watched this one scene just creeped me out. The whole thing's scary, but especially this one scene. And when he left, I turned on. I mean, I didn't tell him, of course. Waited till he drove around the corner.
Like, see, okay.
Must have been high school because we were driving.
Yeah.
So there we go. It was high school. Turned all the lights on after he drove around the corner. I didn't want him to know I was creeped. He probably got home and turned all the lights
too.
on too. But yeah, really, really, really good movie. Really good acting. It's George C. Scott is the main guy.
Okay.
And he's like great in it. Like it's just perfect. And the story is great. You know, you're scared. You actually feel bad for the ghost at certain points, and it's just really, really good movie. And so we're gonna watch it someday.
Yeah, I'm
I have
looking
it on
forward to seeing
Blu-ray.
that.
I recently bought it on Blu-ray. I've purposefully not watched it on Blu-ray yet because
I want to see it.
I want to watch it with you on Blu-ray.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll watch that soon. So that's The Changeling from 1980. Now I'll pass it back over to Jay.
Okay. Well, here's where we have a little bit of a conundrum because my last 2 movies both are vying for the top spot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flip Mr. Eisenhower once again. Heads will be A,
Okay.
tails will be P. And remember that because I'll forget it in the interim of actually flipping the coin.
Heads will be A.
Heads is A.
Okay.
That was loud.
It's tails.
So that was P.
P.
Okay.
All right.
For my fourth movie, which could be the fifth movie, the top movie.
Yeah.
Basically, they're at a tie, but I'll do this one first.
Yeah.
1982's Poltergeist.
Yep.
The movie that made us all terrified of clowns, if we
Yep.
weren't already, and of giant trees outside our windows.
Yeah.
And bodies buried under our houses.
Yeah.
And all sorts of, which I guess would be scary anyway.
Oh yeah.
I remember, let's see, 82, I turned 11, so I was, if it counts summer 82, I was 10.
Yeah.
So I remember, I probably saw it in 83, but friends had seen it, and they told me about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And especially, and again, spoilers. People, if you haven't seen these movies,
Yeah.
stop listening now because we're going to spoil it all. The chicken scene.
Yeah.
The fried chicken scene with
Yeah.
the face. They told me about that, and I did not want to see this movie
Yeah.
because of that. I was just like, no, I do not need to ever see this. So what do? Next summer,
You see it.
it comes on HBO. I'm on summer vacation. Watched it with my mom.
I was going to ask you, was there anyone there with you?
My mom. I watched it around noon
Yeah.
in like July. My room had two doors on it, two entryways. The way it was situated in the house, I don't know why, but it had two doors.
Yeah.
And I kept one that had a hook latch because it didn't seat right in the door jamb. This is neither here nor there, but it would
Yeah.
open on its own, so I hook latched it so it wouldn't. So I never used that door. I used what I called the back door, which was over by the bathroom and in the hallway.
Yeah.
My bed was on the far wall from the back door. That night, been out all day, gone out and played.
Yeah.
11 years old, gone out and done stuff. Should have forgotten about the movie.
Yeah.
That night, I managed to jump and clear this 10-foot room. Managed to clear from the doorway to my bed without touching the floor.
Because of the clown?
Because of the clown.
Yeah.
And I think I managed to reach, or I had a back scratcher or something, and managed to reach and hit the light switch so I
Yeah.
didn't have to get on the floor. Freaked me out
Oh,
that
yeah.
badly. It was terrifying. It's still scary to watch.
Yeah.
It's not quite as bad. And
Yeah.
and it turns out the face thing wasn't as bad as I thought it would
Yeah.
be because it's 80s practical effects.
Yeah.
So it kind of, but it's still creepy.
Yeah.
The clown thing though, because you're just like, you see Robbie in the bed and he sees the clown and he doesn't like it. And who gives their kid that toy anyway?
Yeah, I know.
He throws the jacket on it and then he hears it, hit the ground.
Yeah.
And he hears the jingling because it's moving and it's like, no. This is when the monster blanket comes into effect. You get under, you tuck under, it gets hot. Oh, well.
Yeah.
It's not going to eat, the monster's not going to eat your soul.
That's right.
And he looks under the friggin' bed.
Yeah.
Why?
You never
Robbie?
do that.
Why, Robbie? Never do that. Yeah. Just,
I was thinking one thing, and it hit me right as you were first introducing the movie. One thing that really works about this movie is it hits you. Well, number one, it gets the one thing every kid is afraid of, even if they have or have not seen Poltergeist, is the monster under your bed.
Yeah.
And come to think of it, I can't think of a lot of movies that deal with a monster under a bed. When I think of that, the first thing I think of is Poltergeist.
yeah.
I mean, like, I can't think of any other movie with some little kid with something under his bed. I know that is like the typical, stereotypical, every kid's afraid of it.
Yeah, that's
But this
true.
movie deals with it.
That's true
Which-
because there's not even a lot where something grabs from under the bed.
Yeah, we all know that happens, in our
Oh,
fears.
it's documented. It always.
But that's the only movie I can think of. And then, like you mentioned, the tree outside the window. Not everyone has a tree outside their window, but you always, when you're in your room, you're always worried about like, oh, there's some noise outside my window. Oh, it's
Yeah.
just the tree. Oh, it's just that.
And then the shadows that
yeah,
that you see, especially when storms going on or when it's a full moon or something
Yeah.
like that, and it just
and then
yeah.
And then it also addresses, I mean, in this, there's the dead bodies under the house. not necessarily do people think like, what if there's a dead body buried under my house? But you might just think of like, well, what used to be here before? My house hasn't been here forever. What used to be here?
Yeah.
You know, and you start thinking of like, well, what if someone died here and then they tore the house down and then they built this one?
Yeah, and they buried him here.
It kind of deals with, I mean,
a lot of irrational fears.
A lot of irrational fears. Like, I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but it seems like they purposely did these things that people are always already kind of afraid of, but they just kind of like, they put them into the movie, made it work with the movie. You know?
Yeah, and that's what good horror movies do. They find things that really do creep people out.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, a really ridiculous monster chasing somebody around.
Yeah.
Okay, you know it's not likely. There have been instances, though, I think, where bodies have been buried and not moved.
Yeah.
Apparently, they used real skeletons in the filming of the movie there, because there's the poltergeist curse.
Yeah.
You know, the little girl died when she was like 10.
Yeah.
And Dominic Dunn, what was her name?
Yeah, the
Dominic
girl.
Dunn's daughter, who was the older sister.
She was killed, I think.
She was
right?
murdered by her boyfriend, strangled. The creepy old guy in 2 died I think he had cancer or something, but just weird
a lot of weird
stuff.
things.
But yeah, it does, you know, because it's like, yeah, what is here it works.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, definitely.
To the point, it works to the point that a couple days ago I posted a picture that I took outside my front door. Ooh, my root beer is foaming up. Sorry, people. I took a picture outside the front door of my house, and I live in kind of a tract neighborhood.
Yeah,
there's a pretty sunset on the mountains outside.
Oh yeah,
and I posted the picture, and a friend of mine said something to the effect of, "It looks like a scene from a movie."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, apparently I live in the neighborhood from Poltergeist."
Yeah.
And he comes back and goes, "I almost said it looked like the neighborhood from Poltergeist." And it's like, okay, that's a little creepy.
Yeah. Oops.
And then one more little connection to it, though, that I have. A friend of mine who I was in the military with, apparently they filmed that up in Bakersfield, the neighborhood at least.
Yeah.
And he lived like a couple blocks away, so he got to watch it being filmed.
Oh, wow, that's neat.
And he said, you know, the whole neighborhood is just, you know, turned upside down doing it. But yeah, he got to watch the filming of the outside part. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, that's really neat.
But yeah, that was not scary. But the rest, and yeah, it's a totally normal looking neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
that's part of it too. It's not some old creepy house. You know, like, oh, that looks like a haunted house. No, not at all. You know.
And then the part that always kind of gets me too is when Jo Beth Williams is in the back and she slips into the pool.
Yeah.
And you know the bodies start popping up,
Yeah.
and she's screaming her head off. And they go over to the neighbor and they're trying to get some help, and the neighbor's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
You know, it's like, don't you hear all this going on?
Yeah.
You know, but it's one of your biggest fears too, that something will be happening, and not necessarily your house is haunted, but something will be happening and nobody will help you.
Yep.
And I mean, I remember having a dream like that, and it's a fear that people have. So it works because it does manage to hit so many visceral fears that people have.
Definitely.
So
yeah, really good. We need to watch that again sometime.
We do. I love that movie now. I hated it when I was a kid.
Yeah. All right. Well, my final one, and then we'll do.
Yeah. Sorry, I went a little long on Poltergeist.
That's okay. My final one, and then Jay will do his final one. My final one, though, is I left it for last for two reasons. I'm not going to say it's the scariest movie ever made, but I'm going to say it's the movie that scared me the most of any movie ever. And the reason I say that is because it scared me when I was 36 years old, back in 2009. So, I mean, I'm sure as a little kid, you know, every movie on this list would have terrified me, but none of these movies still scare me except for scare me, like affect me in the way I live my life. Except for this movie, which a lot of people don't know about, and most people that do think it's not very scary.
I think most people that had seen it said it wasn't even that good of a movie.
Yeah, and it's The Fourth Kind from 2009. I think Mia Jovovich is how you say her name.
Mila Jovovich, yeah.
She's like the only actress I recognize in the movie.
Yeah.
The rest of the people were kind of unknown to me. Well, some look familiar, but if it wasn't a big budget movie, not like superstars or anything like that. And yeah, like I said, most people that I know that have seen it just say like, yeah, I saw it. What?
Yeah.
But to me, it altered. At least for a little while after I saw it, it altered my life, like what I could and could not do.
It was your ringing sign.
Yeah, it was. So the basic story is this psychologist moves up to Alaska, and one true thing is that a lot of people happen to disappear from Alaska.
Yeah.
In this movie, it comes to be known that the reason for that is that there are aliens being abducted by aliens, and she does sort of like hypnosis therapy, and some of these memories that people are having trouble sleeping, they're just having depression and all this, and through this hypnosis, these people are remembering the owls, which are the aliens.
Their screen memories.
They come back. The memories come back in these really same things. And what happens is she keeps. I'm getting the chills. You are. She keeps hearing everyone under hypnosis keeps telling basically the same story, which is really, really creepy. So, and I won't get to the end of it because again, there's potential spoilers.
And I haven't seen this one.
And you haven't seen it. I have it here, but I won't watch it here because I'm in a cabin in the woods, which is where this movie takes place.
So you need to bring it to my house.
Yeah,
so
I could watch it here with you. It's just that you have to leave. I don't have to leave. I don't have to leave till the next morning.
I should bring
A sleeping bag,
pajamas.
yeah. It probably won't scare you though. But yeah, this movie altered my life. I saw it in 2009, probably the first or second week it came out with a friend. And afterwards, we both met at the movie theater. I drove my car. He drove his car. I lived probably 30 minutes or so from the theater. And as I was driving home, I started realizing like I'm really, really scared. And I realized that my wife she worked nights at the time. I realized she was not going to be home. And I thought to myself, I can't go home alone right now. So what I did is I worked at a place that was open 24 hours. So I drove into work and I hung out with the people that worked
What are you doing here, Kevin?
Yeah.
No reason.
I'm too scared. Yeah. Actually, there was a guy at work that I could have this kind of conversation with. I actually called him before I got there. I said, hey, I'm going to come into work and hang out with you. And he said, why? And I told him, because to him, I mean, he was laughing like we are, because we both could admit that we're both chickens. But yeah, so I went into work and I waited at work until my wife got home that night. And then, I mean, it altered my washer and dryer were out in my garage, detached from the house. So like,
And that was creepy in the daytime.
Yeah, it's creepy in the daytime, but I would have to, I changed when I would do laundry because I didn't want to do laundry at night. I wanted to do it during the daytime.
Yeah.
And this is a weird thing, and we've probably talked about this before. I mean, nothing is for sure, but I'm like, in my mind, I think there may be a Bigfoot. I don't think that there are aliens. And if there are, they aren't close enough to where this thing could ever happen.
Yeah.
They would never, if there are aliens somewhere in the universe, I personally don't believe that they would be close enough to get to us to ever interact. Like, we'll never know if aliens exist because they're too far away. That's just my personal opinion. But yet, as you've seen through the movies we've done tonight, aliens really, really scare me.
They come here all the time.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, and I remember.
I don't know what that means.
I remember Kevin calling me or texting me or something.
Yeah.
Or he sent me the link.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I knew about it because one of the big selling points to it was supposedly some of the footage was actual footage.
Was real footage, yeah.
And was it supposed to be actual footage of the aliens or actual footage of the hypnosis
Of
sessions?
the hypnosis. So what they would do in the movie, which was a pretty neat trick, is you'd be watching the movie with actors and actresses in it. Clearly it's a movie. But then when the hypnosis scene would come up, you'd see Mila Jovovich.
Yeah.
She'd start the session, and then all of a sudden the screen it'd do a split screen, and you'd see, an actual doctor with an actual patient, pretty close to the same scene happening on the left and right of this. And the right hand side or whatever would be real footage. The left hand side would be the reenactment.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember at the time if I believed that was real footage.
I've heard that may have been fudged.
Well, yeah, I think it definitely was fudged. But to me, I mean, honestly, another example would be the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
I went into that
Thinking
not.
it was.
I didn't think it was real.
Oh, okay.
But it still scared me.
Yeah.
And my point was with this movie, whether the footage is real or not, it was effective to do that.
Yeah.
It scared me.
Well, I remember though being apprehensive watching the trailer.
Yeah.
And then it being done, and I go, Kevin's the biggest wuss I have ever met in my life.
And I am. I'm the biggest wuss I've ever met in my life.
It was not scary in the least, but I could see it. I could understand it. My personal opinion is there are aliens. Whether or not they're coming here, that's neither here nor there. The universe is too big for there not to be something. Whether or not they're coming here and probing people, well, who knows?
Now can I do a quick break? And I want to do something we've never done during a podcast before.
Okay.
I'm going to go lock the door because I'm scared. And I looked over and noticed it's not locked.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin is actually locking the door and running.
I also heard a bang noise outside, which made me look over at the door, and then I thought it's not locked.
And Bionic Bigfoot's out there with
an alien.
Alien.
Yeah.
Are they,
Okay.
Are they lifting my tires, my wheels?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, so that is my. I'm not claiming it's the scariest movie ever made. What I'm claiming is it's the movie that scared me the most of any movie I've ever seen in my life, and I was far
Grown
into
adult.
adulthood when it happened. So, finally, we'll pass it back to Jay.
Pass it back to me. My tie for number one butt puckering movie I watched again as a child with my mom.
Yep.
What is wrong with the woman? I don't know.
I don't know.
1979's Alien.
Yep.
I watched this movie. We had on TV, which I don't know if y'all remember on TV, but it was the early days of cable.
Yeah.
And it was a pay service, and you had this big box that was sat on your TV, and there was a big knob, and it said TV, on TV.
Yeah.
And you just switch it back and forth between the two. It was only one channel, and I remember on Saturday mornings, the channel, the service would go up until like midnight or something, and then they'd play kind of risque movies.
Yeah.
Because apparently my parents accidentally found that one time.
Yeah.
But then after that, it would go to Spanish programming.
Huh.
And the way my parents had it set up so that we didn't watch movies we weren't supposed to, they had the box in their room. My dad ran it through to the living room.
Okay.
So Saturday morning, 6 o'clock, I get up to watch cartoons, and no, it's Spanish cowboy movies. And I can't get in there to switch it. I think I tried to sneak in a couple times, and that didn't end well. But anyway, on TV, we hadn't had it very long. And I think my older brother had seen Alien, and it came on, and he was like, let's watch this. I seem to remember most of my family being there. I also remember watching it through my fingers.
Yeah.
Because I was 79, I was 8, and I had no business watching this movie.
Yeah.
And it terrified me. And there were a lot of movies where I'd cover my eyes and watch from between my fingers. That was the only movie I'd watched almost from beginning to end between my fingers. And it wasn't until it was probably after Aliens came out that I finally saw it without my fingers over my face.
Yeah.
And to this day, there is the one scene where Ripley has escaped. She's in the escape shuttle. And she's walking around, and she goes to sit down, and you can see the alien in amongst everything. And you know he's there. You know he's going to come out. And I did this about 3 years ago. You're watching it. You see it there. And still it moves, and I jumped.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still that effective. Even though you can see it coming, you know that it's there, and it still scares the snot out of you. It just...
Yep.
And the movies that came after that, I don't consider Aliens a horror movie in the same way.
Yeah.
I consider it an action movie.
Yeah.
Because it came out, it's very similar to Commando and Rambo and all that, because you got, the
It just
guys.
is set in space instead.
Yeah. And it's a monster instead of You
Yeah.
know, the really weird looking Freddie Mercury looking guy.
Yeah.
And all the ones that came after that like I said, I don't consider them horror movies. They're just more, they're sci-fi.
Yeah.
It is a horror movie, and it is scary even today because it works because the setting it's very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Because you're in a ship and you can't go
You
anywhere.
can't go anywhere, yeah.
Only so far you can go. And then when it starts bleeding through and going through the hull, and you're just like, oh, things are going to get really, really bad now.
Yeah.
And you can't kill it, and and the way it takes people out, it just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was even. I'm glad you said it, but I was going to ask later on, or after you were done describing, I was going to say, would you just consider it basically a horror movie that just happens to be set in space? That's basically what it is.
And from things I've read about it, that's the debate: is it a sci-fi movie or is it a horror movie?
Yeah.
And I consider Alien a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the rest after that to be sci-fi.
Yeah, I agree.
And
even the newer ones, which I actually like Prometheus. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I did. It was okay.
I liked it. That one wasn't necessarily scary. To me, that was just a good sci-fi movie.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting to get the.
Yeah.
'Cause I always wondered about the space jockey.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that supposed to be?
Yeah,
And then
I
you
know.
find out what they are. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Although
So
it contains one of the dumbest one of the scenes
Oh.
we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Where the ship starts rolling.
yeah.
And I think it's Charlize Theron's character.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of running 2 feet to the side.
Yeah.
Nope. Runs.
Just run straight
keeps
ahead.
Run straight ahead.
Keep
and
running,
things-
Shaggy and
Yep.
Scooby.
Thing
Yeah.
runs her over.
But yeah, I think, I mean, at least in for both of us, we both consider it it's a horror movie that just happens to have a sci-fi type setting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Alien.
Alien.
Scary.
Still scares me too. I agree
Still.
with everything you said.
And it's a great movie.
Yep.
It
Yeah,
is
it's really
it's
well
awesome.
done.
I love it.
Okay.
So there we go. Now, you had some honorable mentions. I could think of a couple.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm going to list some honorable mentions, but I'm not going to really go into them because, if someone does listen to this podcast, I don't want them to look at the running time and say like, well, I'm not listening to that one.
Yeah. It's
So-
really long.
But yeah, I'll just mention, I picked 5 that were sort of honorable mentions. I think I picked 5. Freaks from 1932.
Okay.
The subject matter freaks me out. Maybe someday we'll get into that. Rosemary's Baby from 1968. Just real creepy, dread type feeling when you're watching it. The Wicker Man from 1973,
Okay.
which, it has a great surprise ending. Obviously, it doesn't surprise me anymore, but I remember that initial shock was just unbelievable. The Sentinel from 1977.
Sensing a theme here.
Yes. Although I actually meant to say Suspiria. I think I highlighted the wrong one, but also from 1977, Suspiria.
I had not heard of until I saw your list.
Yeah, we'll watch. I have it on Blu-ray here.
All
We'll
right,
watch
then.
it sometime. And that one's just like it's an Italian movie, and it just sort of the thing with the Japanese, like it's just enough different to where you're a little bit off kilter anyway, and then it's so weird that it just kind of pushes you over the edge. And then finally, actually the newest movie of any that we've mentioned, 2011's Kill List.
Kill List.
Which
I don't remember that
is a
one.
lot like The Wicker Man, actually. It's like I
okay.
guarantee that the director and writer of that was trying to not redo The Wicker Man,
Emulate it
but
a little bit.
do the same idea.
Yeah.
Probably honor it or something like that. So that's my honorable mentions.
Well, while we were doing this, I had a couple that I thought of.
Yeah.
And I, for the life of me,
Oh,
cannot
no.
remember what they are. But
Yeah.
I did not come unprepared.
Okay.
While it may not be a whole movie,
Yeah. Oh, I know.
the commercials.
Yeah.
We talked about some of the trailers freaking us out. As a kid, the two that had me in absolute hysterics or totally frozen in fear. The first one, I'm sitting in my parents' room. We had the big 24-inch TV in the living
Yeah.
room, big console TV, and they had a little black and white TV in their room. And
Yeah.
so sometimes they'd let me watch TV in there. And I was probably watching Donnie and Marie or
Yeah.
Muppet Show or something like that. And all of a sudden, the commercial for the movie Magic comes on.
Yep.
And it's a movie about a ventriloquist dummy that kind of starts taking over
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins, right?
And it starts off and it's, him being kind of silly and saying
Yeah.
weird things. And then he keeps going, you're getting sleepy. You're getting sleepy.
Yep.
Now you're dead.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in my parents' room, and in my memory, at the room, it wasn't a big room. It
Yeah.
was probably a 10 by 10 or 9 by 10.
Yeah.
In my memory, it's like when they show horror movies and
it gets bigger.
They do that where
Yeah.
they pull back and the hall gets long. It's like a mile long because
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the bed. It's dark, and I can't move.
Yeah.
I can't get up to change to the channel. I'm just sitting there going, "Please be done. Please be
Yeah.
done. Please be done." And then the other one was the commercial for, or the trailer for, It Lives. It
Oh, yeah,
Lives.
yeah.
Yes. And I can remember this being up watching cartoons in the morning.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they would show some of these at like 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then, of course, nothing else like that afterwards, but I would, of course, catch it.
Yeah.
And it starts off, it's like a lullaby playing, and it's a you see a bassinet.
Oh, yeah,
it's just in a black room, and the bassinet, and then it turns, and it keeps going. And all of a sudden, this clawed hand
Yeah.
shoots up. And, yeah, I think I was probably 4 or 5 when that came out.
Oh, yeah.
It had me clinging to the ceiling. I was so terrified of that. And again, we didn't have remote control.
Yeah.
So it was just sit there and wait for it to go away.
Yeah.
And just be totally petrified.
Yep.
So one other one I can think of, though,
Yeah.
right quick, and I haven't finished watching it on Netflix. There's the Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, yeah. I want to watch that someday.
People have been saying it's the most terrifying thing they've seen.
Yeah.
I had one friend say we quit watching it after episode 8 at night
'Cause it was too
We'll
scary?
only watch it during the day. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've made it. I'm on up to episode 6. I have not been scared yet.
Huh.
But
Yeah.
it is really well done.
Okay.
It's creepy. It's the 5th episode is exceedingly sad,
Yeah.
but a nice twist at the end.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend it.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
probably start that soon then.
Yeah.
I'm out of things to watch right now.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening in the future, go look on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's on there right now, but it's really, really well done, and it's based, I think, more on the book from what I understand, but it's kind of still fast and loose with it.
Yeah.
So it's not like the original movie,
Yeah.
except that they're in Hill House,
Yeah.
and but really, really good. So highly recommend.
Good. Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
Honorable mentions. So one of these days I'll make sure to write down my honorable mentions so
know.
I can remember stupid crap like this.
It was easy for me. I had this giant. I just happened to. I basically keep my favorite scary movie list all the time.
Don't we all?
So when this came up,
So
I just
me.
printed it out and highlighted the ones I wanted to talk about tonight.
I wrote mine on a sticky note and then forgot it at my
Yeah.
desk.
Yeah.
One of us is a little more prepared than the other.
Yeah. This time.
So there you have it.
There we have it.
10 movies that if you haven't seen them, go see them. Just don't go see them alone.
Yeah. Definitely. And if you watch The Fourth Kind and it's not scary to you, don't make fun of me.
Oh, no, make fun of them the whole
Okay.
time. Just sit there and go, seriously, Kevin?
Yeah.
Really? So there you have it.
There you have it.
Our 1-year birthday extravaganza.
And I have a feeling that we'll probably do something very similar next year because this is really fun.
Yeah. This is a nice little detour from the usual.
Yeah.
So look us up. Leave a comment if you want to.
Yep.
Have fun. Go nuts.
All right. Talk to you next time.